3 a.m. The room is dark. The house is silent. Everyone around you is fast asleep. But you're lying there wide awake, replaying a conversation from 3 days ago, mentally rehearsing tomorrow's meeting, worrying about something you can't even name. And the harder you try to stop, the louder it gets. Here's what nobody ever told you about this: that racing mind at 3 a.m. It isn't weakness, it isn't anxiety, and it definitely isn't random. What's happening inside your brain right now is one of the most fascinating and most misunderstood psychological experiences in all of human behavior. And once you understand why it happens, you'll never see your sleepless nights the same way again. Let's start with something that might genuinely shock you. Your 3 a.m. mind might not be your fault at all. Inside your body, there's a hormone called cortisol. Most people know it as the stress hormone. But here's what most people don't realize. Cortisol follows a precise biological schedule. It hits its lowest point around midnight, then slowly builds to wake you up in the morning. That's how it's supposed to work. But research from sleep scientists studying what's called the HPA axis, the body's stress response system, shows something alarming. When you've been running on chronic stress, that schedule breaks down. Cortisol pulses start firing in the middle of the night. And when that happens, your heart rate spikes, your chest tightens, your mind jolts awake, flooded with worry, with no obvious trigger. Dr. Alexandros Vagantzis, a sleep researcher at Penn State University, found that people with chronic insomnia have measurably higher cortisol levels at night compared to normal sleepers. Their bodies are literally stuck in a stress loop. And here's the cruel part. Sleep loss itself causes your body to release even more cortisol the next day, which makes the next night worse, which causes more cortisol. It's a biological trap, and millions of people are caught inside it right now without knowing it. But here's where it gets interesting. Cortisol is only part of the story. There's another layer that almost no one in the Western world talks about. While modern science was still discovering stress hormones, traditional Chinese medicine had already mapped this exact problem. Over 3,000 years ago, they called it heart fire. In TCM, excess thinking, too much worrying, too much mental activity was said to burn the heart's cooling energy. They called that cooling force yin. And when your yin runs dry, your mind runs hot. A hot mind cannot sleep. But TCM didn't stop there. They created something called the Chinese body clock. The idea was that every organ in your body has a 2-hour window of peak activity each night. And the time you wake up tells you exactly which part of you is struggling emotionally. Waking between 1 and 3 a.m., that's liver time. In TCM, the liver holds unexpressed anger and trapped stress. Waking between 3 and 5 a.m., that's lung time, connected to unprocessed grief and loss. Think about that for a second. The exact hour your body wakes you could be a signal, an emotional message your body is trying to send you. Now you can be skeptical. That's fair. But what's remarkable is that modern psychology is beginning to say the same thing, just in different language. What most people don't realize is that unresolved emotional conflict is one of the leading causes of middle-of-the-night waking, not stress about tomorrow, but grief, anger, and hurt you haven't fully processed yet. Your body wakes you up because it hasn't finished the conversation. Now something surprising happens when you look at a completely different group of night thinkers, people with ADHD. A 2023 study published in the Journal of Attention Disorders found that 68% of adults with ADHD experience intense rumination and racing thoughts specifically after dark. 68%, and the reason is completely counterintuitive. During the day, an ADHD brain is constantly absorbing external stimulation, notifications, noise, tasks, conversations. That chaos actually regulates the ADHD brain. It gives it something to lock onto. But at night, when everything goes quiet, the external world disappears. And the internal world explodes. All that restless mental energy has nowhere to go, so it turns inward. Old conversations resurface, future fears multiply, unfinished thoughts spiral. Dr. Russell Barkley, one of the world's leading ADHD researchers, describes this as a failure of executive inhibition, the brain's inability to press pause on its own activity. But here's what makes this deeply human. One person on Reddit described it this way: "I enjoy thinking at night. It's the only time my mind feels like mine. Enjoy, not suffer. Enjoy." That single word changes everything, because it means, for some people, nighttime thinking isn't a problem to fix. It's the only space all day where their mind finally feels free. And that brings us to something that will completely shift how you see yourself. There's a scientific phenomenon called the mind after midnight effect. Researchers at MIT and Harvard studied what happens to the human brain in the late hours of the night. What they found stunned them. As darkness deepens, the brain's rational gatekeeping loosens. The inner critic goes quiet. Logical constraints relax. Dopamine, your brain's reward and motivation chemical, actually peaks late at night. And in that open, unguarded space, ideas move differently. Thoughts connect in ways they never do during the day. The mind starts to see patterns, possibilities, and truths it can't access when it's busy being productive. History knew this long before neuroscience proved it. Virginia Woolf wrote entire novels in her head during sleepless nights. She said the darkness gave her a kind of mental freedom she couldn't find anywhere else. Artist Louise Bourgeois, unable to sleep for decades, channeled her insomnia into 220 drawings. She called them her insomnia drawings. Today, they hang in museums around the world. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Sylvia Plath, Nikola Tesla, all of them, documented insomniacs, all of them changed the world. These weren't people suffering from their sleepless minds. They were people who learned to listen to them. There's another layer here, and it's one most people completely miss. The same elevated dopamine that sparks creativity at night also intensifies negative emotions. Fear runs higher. Regret feels sharper. Small worries become catastrophic. This is why the same brain that solves its biggest problems at 3 a.m. can also collapse into its deepest fears at 3 a.m. It isn't a contradiction. It's two sides of the same heightened state. So what do you actually do with all of this? This is where science has found something genuinely unexpected. There's a technique called binaural beats. The concept is simple. Play two tones of slightly different frequencies, one in each ear, and your brain perceives a third tone that doesn't exist, and your brain waves will follow that perceived tone. Scientists call this the frequency following response. In a 2022 study, researchers gave subjects a 3 Hz binaural beat track before sleep. The result? Measurable increases in deep, slow-wave sleep, the kind that restores your body and resets your emotional regulation. A separate trial with athletes found that listening to theta range beats reduced pre-sleep anxiety and significantly improved both sleep quality and morning alertness. The racing mind at night is partly a brainwave problem. An anxious brain locked in high-frequency beta waves, when what it needs is to slow into alpha, then theta, then delta. Binaural beats offer a way to guide that shift, gently, without medication, without effort. But there's one more tool that works even better for overthinkers specifically. Keep a notebook beside your bed, not to journal, not to reflect, just to dump. Whatever your brain insists on holding, write it down, externalize it, put it on paper. Researcher Dr. Michael Scullin at Baylor University ran a study where participants who wrote a to-do list before bed fell asleep significantly faster than those who didn't. The brain overthinks at night, partly because it doesn't trust itself to remember. Give it proof the thought is safe, and watch how quickly it lets go. Here's the truth I want you to carry with you. The people who think too much at night are not broken. They are not weak. They are not anxious by accident. What they are, what you might be, is someone whose mind refuses to be ordinary. Someone who feels things deeply. Someone who processes the world at a level most people never reach. Your cortisol might be misfiring. Your ADHD brain might be waking up. Your dopamine might be peaking. Or your body might be waking you at 3 a.m. because something emotional, something real, still needs to be heard. None of that is a disorder. It's data. The question was never, how do I make my brain stop? The real question, the one worth sitting with, is this: what is my mind trying to tell me? Start listening. And if this video made you see yourself a little differently today, share it with one person who's probably awake right now, thinking the exact same thoughts as you. They need to hear this too.